And welcome to episode 5 of Two Epic Nerds. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
It's like season 1 almost. So, you know what we do. We get our 3 topics, take our 3 topics, we love them until we break them. And then we get through that, and it's usually a good time. It's always a good time. It's always a good time here. We're going to take our 3 topics, lift them up, and our first topic is... spoilers for Jupiter's Legacy. Now, I watched this show immediately. Katetsu, had to take a few minutes. He warmed up to it. But once he watched it, I think he really liked it.
I did. I enjoyed it a lot. It took us talking about, I think it was like last episode we talked about it. We talked about Invincible, and you brought up
Jupiter's Legacy. I called Omni-Man Utopian like twice.
and I see why, because I saw it and I'm like, now I see why he was calling Omni-Man Utopian. But yeah, it was really good. It was like another superhero show or movie that kind of pits the cast in like real situations where it's like people are dying and they're really, just being a superhero in this modern day. And they really do make it show that being a superhero in a modern day, what it's like. And I love how they go back and show how everyone got their powers. And I love how they did it, like the camera style. Like it was full screen when they go into like the 1930s, but they would do widescreen shot for when they go back into the modern time. And I was like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. I do like that. At first, it's something to get used to, but then like once you see it, it was cool. And then I think it was like one of the last 2 episodes, you see it like closing in, and you're like, it's gonna go into the modern time. And I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty cool, like how they shot it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does show how it doesn't show too much of them doing superheroing back then. It gives you a little bit of an idea. And then just from what the OG heroes like talked about, like how their code was and how easy it was. And it's like now the younger version, these younger heroes are like, well, we can't live up to this because these guys are actually trying to kill us now. Like they have been. We've lost heroes because of this, young heroes because of this, because these guys are literally trying to kill us. And you want us to disarm them and put them to jail, where they're going to come right back and try to kill us again. So, and you see that struggle, and I like seeing that. And you get to see everyone's kids in there. There was one character who I think forgot his name. He has like the mohawk, and he has that device that he can just call on and be like, go home. He goes home.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, yeah, I forgot his name.
Too. He was Sky Fox's son.
Which
was confusing. I think we're about to say the same thing. Before I say that, it's like, okay, so you have the current struggle of all the superheroes trying to not necessarily go against the code, but trying to convince everybody that the code doesn't work anymore. Utopian coming from the original, the golden age, back in the 40s or 50s, whatever that was supposed to be, coming up with the code or believing in it so much to where he fights for it, even when I don't think he himself believes in it, because he almost saw his son die. Like Black Star almost, and this was in the prison later in the show, because he almost killed his son, and he was having conflictions about just straight up eye blasting Black Star, and so that makes the son go, "Were you not going to kill him? Were you not going to stop him from killing me?" So in the present time, we start with a struggle, and then in the past, we start with a struggle that leads into them becoming superheroes, where in the one time that you see them in like their Hall of Justice or whatever, they're acting like children almost.
Yeah.
They're all just like running around and hitting each other, like they were, teenage boys in the locker room, so they started with a struggle, and then they went to, they built up to being more playful characters, or, and then in modern times, they, start out with a struggle, and then, they're building to something else. One of the interesting things, and you mentioned the kids, if they do a season 2, which as far as we know, it hasn't actually officially been announced yet, as good as it was, and the stuff that Netflix gives multiple seasons to, I can't imagine them not doing it, but they just haven't said it yet. So the first season dealt with the past and the present. The next season is supposed to deal with the present and the future. And what Chris Miller had said in the article is that it's the future as in the children's children. So the main plot is still going to be in the future, but then just like the past is going to shoot to the future, So,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of weird because, spoilers. It's like,
Yeah.
well, obviously this guy lives and this guy dies, but how they're going to work that is, so they're talking about, say a paradigm and what was the son's superhero name?
His name was Paragon. I think
Paragon.
his actual name was Brian, I think, or something. Brian, I thought it was Brian or something. But yeah, his hero name is Paragon.
Paragon, like, save Paragon and Ruby, which was a character that they didn't really, was interesting looking, but they didn't do a whole lot with her, So I found myself wanting to know more about her and some of the other ones that they didn't really touch on. So it'll be about, just to say if Utopian Son and Ruby have kids, it'll be about their kids.
Okay.
So not just going to the next generation, but the generation after that. Which is like, that's interesting. I'm curious to see how they play it out if they get a second season. But I think a lot of it comes down because the guy Josh, I think, is the guy who plays Utopian.
It's Josh DeMel. Josh DeMel, I think that's his name. Because I looked it up when I was watching the show. I was like, I know his name is Josh, but what's his last name? His name is Josh DeMel, I think that's his name. I'm looking at that.
That sounds right. Yeah, I think he's already said some things that along the lines of how he didn't really enjoy doing a lot of the superhero stuff or doing the fight scenes, or the costumes. Like, he hasn't had a whole lot of good stuff to say about being in the show. So, that could be the deciding factor. But I mean, it's kind of, in a state where they could probably do without him. I mean, as good as he was, and the character is pivotal, but if they're going to go into the future, something could have happened to him. So we could go with that route. I really like the show. One thing that kind of, as much as I like the past parts as well, they were good, and the future parts, it was almost got annoying to hello.
Hey, Katatsu.
How's it going?
Hey, he said hey. What am I talking about? It almost got annoying to the point to where they were switching like every scene. Like every scene, there was a modern scene, and then they'd go to the past.
I can
understand. Go to the future, then they'd go to the past. It's like maybe if they did that a little bit half and half, or had an episode that was in the past, and then
I get that.
Kind of do it that way. That would be my only complaint. But I thought the guy who played Brainwave was probably stole the show in my eyes. Like, his acting in the past and his acting as a future, even though he did probably look the most altered, and when you think about it.
He did. Like, it just felt like it was a different actor. Both timelines. It's just how well they just did that makeup. Everyone else, you can kind of place. They didn't age much, but like his character was like, yo, this is a huge, you aged like 20 years more than
everybody else. Yeah.
In the show.
Yeah.
To a point where I'm like, did they use another actor? But it was just they did a really good job with his.
It's all about the code. So we got, the younger guys being like, well, we're going to have to start killing these people, where Utopian, and who's ultimately, the Omni-Man of that. He's super strong, that nobody can really come close to him. Brainwave can't read his mind, blah, blah, blah. So, fighting to keep the code alive. So Brainwave does what he does because he doesn't also believe in the code. And you see some of the other older ones kind of break too, but Utopian is like that grumpy old granddad that's too stuck in his ways to see, anything new happen. Because Miss Liberty almost turned, the stuff that Brainwave did, killed his own daughter. And then we never even see Skyfox, which is, you'd think you'd see more of him. You saw them kind of at the end, but you don't even know if it was really him because, the mask.
Yeah, and it was just weird because it was like, wait, how is he able to do that? Like, because they never explained what his power really, like, he had this weird gun, but they never really explained like what his power was, like what it looked like. Everyone had the super speed, the flying, and the strength, but then they may had something a little bit extra,
they never did come out and say what he did.
Like they didn't really explain what his power was, and then you saw him when they went into Black Matter's, the fake Black Black Matter's head. Like, oh, Shadow Fox is doing this. But it's like, so he's another telepath that he can do something like this, so he can trap you in here. So it kind of threw me a little bit, but I kind of went with it. And then when they revealed that, oh, it was brainwaves the entire time, I was like, that makes sense, because they never talked about what Shadow Fox can do.
Sky Fox.
A Shadow. What was I thinking about? Sky Fox. Yeah, you're right. Sky Fox. Like they never really. It wasn't really explained what he can do. Not even when they went in the past. Like they never really explained it. And then speaking on that, like I keep forgetting that kid's name. I forgot his name. He has a mohawk. He has that thing in his hand. They said Utopian was like, hey, where's your dad? And where's your dad George? And so he's like, I haven't seen my dad. Every time I try to call him, it takes him to the strip club. And then if you go to, and if you watching this the last episode when they all gather around the chair, there's that other guy they saved, that doctor they saved. They were like, well, how come we all have the same powers, but you get this, you get that extra thing? He's like, oh, I'm just better. And if you look at it, I'm like, wait a second, that's what that kid has.
Yeah.
So how is he able to? So it's like, how is he able to use it if George is his dad?
Yeah.
So it's like, it puts you into another, like, okay, now you guys have messed me up, and you guys said this is the last episode.
Exactly.
And either I got to read the comic books and figure it out, or I just got to wait to see what the heck is actually going on, what is going on.
Yeah, that was such a big, because we were all told that it was George's kid, and then, but we didn't find out, probably on purpose, and we never, I think we found out his name. The guy who had the stick, he just kind of came in there like in the middle of the.
Yeah, he was that doctor that washed up, and then he was like, "Oh, this is the last guy we needed." I forgot his name. And then I was thinking about this too, like, what if, because we know that he went insane, he was semi going insane,
Hutch.
but he was Hutch. Oh yes,
Hutch.
yes, that's his name, Hutch. And then it was like he was still kind of going insane, but then he was like, "Okay, this is the code." What if his code, and why he's holding on to it so hard, is to keep his sanity? Like, what if what he went through wasn't really to get them there? What if what he went through was he was really going insane, but what he saw was like triggering that insanity. So the code is to what's going to hold on to his sanity, and that's why he was holding. I just thought about that. Like, I was thinking about that when I was watching. I was like, maybe that's why he's holding on to it, because that's how he keeps his sanity. Him seeing his dad and all that else. I don't know. I'm just kind of weirdly reading in between the.
Yeah, but then again,
between.
like you were saying, okay, first of all, what happened to that guy? Which I was trying to find his name. I saw it somewhere before, because these are all graphic novels too. They're in comic book series ongoing, but I can't find him anywhere. He was the stick guy. So yeah, anyway, if he is George's son, why does the stick do what he says, and why is that his only power? And then what was Sky Fox's power? There were so many open-ended questions.
Yeah.
If it doesn't get a season 2, it's going to make season 1 look freaking stupid, because
yeah. Or what if they only did this to force people to go read the graphic novels?
That is also a possibility.
But the show was good. I thought it was really good for what they did with it. Like I said, I didn't know it was a graphic novel until after I heard of the show, and then you mentioned it, and I was like, yeah, I think it is a graphic novel. So I thought it was Blue Bolt.
He's the guy with the stick, Blue Bolt.
Yeah. Okay.
And I guess he can just bolt everywhere. But that's a serious question that could really alter. It's like, is he George's son, or is he this Blue Bolt's son? What does Sky Fox do? Because he looks like Batman.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. There's always a Batman character in every single superhero adaptation show or movie. There's always a character who resembles Batman.
There is.
When he was hit, and it was him.
So recognizable. Just like there's always kind of a Superman. I guess that would be Utopian in this, and Omni-Man and Invincible.
Yeah, it was him.
Mike Wade's character, he was the one in the wheelchair. His superhero name was Flare.
Yeah, and it made sense because his daughter had the same power as he did, but she can do more. I think that's what he said. He mentioned that she can do more. I think she could, like, it's just like pure energy. It looks like kind of like Flashy kind of thing, where the scene when they were fighting Black Star in the beginning, and she kind of went super fast in those punches. So I'm like, okay, so she can kind of like do the whole energy thing. And at first I thought it was a speed, but then she was like giving him energy to break into Black Star's head. So I'm like, okay, so it's more of like energy kind of thing, and they can use that to kind of do everything else.
I didn't quite get that either. He was a speedster, but they were doing something with his brain. They were both like shooting the beam in there. Do you want to guess what his daughter's superhero name is?
I forgot. I can't even.
Flare 2.
See, I thought I was gonna say Solar Flare because that would have been cool.
That would have been better. That would have absolutely been better.
Oh man.
You know, the journey that Utopian took to get to where he was very cryptic and kind of cool. Like that whole interaction he had at the Miller's farm. With Miller, old man Miller, being played by Kurtwood Smith, which is somebody everybody loves. He was, you know, a RoboCop bad guy. He was Red and 70s show, so I enjoyed seeing him. You know, he's like a 275 years old at this point. And so going there and getting what he said, and then he goes down to the basement and he sees the corpses, but then he sees the corpses as the 6 people that he's supposed to collect to become, you know, like all that was super cool. And then we go through the whole story. Everybody needs to watch it. It's super cool. And then there's but I'm about to spoil it for you. The big turn of Brainwave. He just straight up turns on everybody and murders his own daughter. What was Ben Daniels' Brainwave Walter?
Yes, that's his name.
Yeah. So the whole thing was a setup. We never, you know, you thought you saw Skyfox in Black Bolt's or Black Star's brain, but it turned out to be all set up by Walter, who, you know, if you in the past you could see that he was kind of the whinier, kind of more jealous brother, but smart. You know, so then we flash forward to the present, and he's through the whole series, he's a little bit too nice and too agreeing to a lot of things. You know, he's like the cool older uncle. You know, with the payoff being at the end that everything he's done up until then had been a setup. When he went to the Supermax and to see Black Star and their interaction. And then in the next episode, Black Star gets mysteriously released. You know, you're like, oh, he might have had something to do with that. And then ultimately we get to the end. Everything seems like it's going good. And then Brainwave kills his daughter and it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. You know, so that's the cliffhanger we're left on. And I just hope they make a second season because I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, you know it's what I just think about this now. You know it's funny. I always say it was a horrible cliffhanger only because I have too many questions. So when I say it's a horrible cliffhanger, I'm like, you're leaving me with too many, which is a good cliffhanger. But me being me, I'm like, I hated your cliffhanger because now I want to know.
You know, yeah, I was fine not knowing what Jupiter's Legacy was at all, and then you came up with this show, and I had to watch it, and now I want to know everything about it. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. What did you think of the costumes?
I think that's what took it. They just felt like they didn't feel authentic. Like they felt very generic. Everyone has a cape. It's like not everyone needs a cape. Some heroes can have a cool costume without a cape.
The Flares didn't have capes.
Okay, yeah. No, I thought they did. I thought the Flare did have a cape.
No.
Maybe he didn't. But I just felt like it's like the generic superhero look where it's like they have their suit, they have their logo on their chest, and they have a cape. That's what kind of threw me because I'm like, okay, this seems like just a generic superhero show, like coming off something from Invincible. Like that's what I thought it was. Then it
seemed a little bit like The Boys. Like far as like how they would introduce a suit or a super, and that was in a costume, and it was just really generic and not, you know, super memorable.
Yeah,
because they were going to die anyway.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, it just looked like it was very generic, and that's what kind of took me away from it. And then when I saw the trailer, I'm like, this is gonna be like some teen superhero thing where it's just all this teen movie stuff that I don't really like, and I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it. But then when you were like, yeah, you should take a look, and it's this, I'm like, okay, let me check it out. And I was like, I want to watch it before the next time we do our show, and I watched it, and I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty good. What really hooked me was just the struggle of keeping this code, standing by this code while fighting people who are trying to kill you. I think that's what really hooked me because I really wanted to see the breaking point in somebody. And there almost was twice or three times that we saw was with that dude with the magma who had all those like crazy like tribal tats. He almost killed that one dude, but then a Liberty forgot her Liberty lady or
Lady Liberty.
Lady Liberty came in and stopped him. He's like, "Don't do this. We have a code." And he's like, "Well, what are we supposed to do? He's gonna kill us. He's gonna get back." And then you see Lady Liberty almost killing that other guy because she saw that Ghost Beam died, and then Utopian almost killing Black Star because he was gonna kill his son. So I wanted to see that breaking point, and I think that's what really hooked me with the show. Of course, the daughter, she had her own thing. She was going through her own struggle. And of course, Hutch, he was doing his own thing too. So that was cool, but I really wanted to see like just what really interested me was just the interaction between the heroes, with the new heroes and the old school heroes, and to see if there was gonna be a breaking point with someone actually saying, forget the code. This is not working. We have to protect ourselves and the people, no matter what the cost.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could find that guy real quick with the magma powers. He's totally going to be one, because I feel like if they have a second season, they're going to go into two factions, because a lot of the heroes they have now, the younger guys are going to join George on his quest, or not George, Walter, and then you'll still have the ones like Ghost Beam that would obviously still follow the code.
And then you had Solar 2. She was like, I'm gonna leave because I can't do this. And then Paragon was like, look, I struggle with that too, but then I just remember what my dad said. And then he was like, I actually believe it now. Like, it's not BS anymore. I actually believe it because I'm telling it to somebody else. So so yeah, there probably will be two factions. Well, I think it'd be cool to see two factions of heroes.
Yeah.
Because it's like Batman and Red Hood.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Red Hood is it'll be like that.
And
so,
hopefully
like
some sort of redemption story for Chloe. Which, if you read any of the articles and stuff about it, nobody liked that character. Everybody's like, she's completely unredeemable. She's a total butthole. Why would we even care about this character?
It looked like she's gonna be like a villain type because she helped Hutch break into that high security thing and like got him out. So I'm like, I can see a Bonnie and Clyde arc with them. I can see that happening, and then something going wrong or something like that because his crew left them completely.
Yeah. Jack Frost was one of those guys. They kept calling him Jack, and then I was looking through and I happened to stumble upon it, and it's like, Jack Frost. Oh, that makes sense.
It makes sense.
That's a real good name.
That's real on the nose there.
Yeah.
That's real on the nose there.
Yeah. It had that kind of like golden age semi-generic feel to a lot of the characters in it, which I liked. And then some of the names, like I remember this Ectoplex. I don't know why she was called Ectoplex, but they kind of had that in the background going like, oh, these names. Somebody even said something about just how horrible the names are of the people that are in the league or the union or whatever whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And that was one of them that I heard. I was like, yeah, there's no reason for you to be called that, because she's the one that had like the bands of energy. Like they didn't shoot out, but they were almost like energy whip type of deals. She's the one that got into it with Chloe at the bar.
At the bar, yeah.
And so overall, like if I had to give it an out of 10 rating, it would be a solid 8.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, there was, a lot to like about it, but there was also a little bit that could have been polished up. But I don't know I don't know anything about the source material, so
yeah,
I don't know how good they followed that. So yeah, Jupiter's Legacy is definitely worth a watch. Definitely would do that. Do it right now. I might watch it again just for fun, just for funsies. Topic number 2 is. There's a Powerpuff Girls TV series in the works, and what happened to that?
So they said that they're going to be reworking the script because this is the words of the CW CEO, it was too campy. That's who was saying. Now, we don't know exactly what that really means because we don't know what the story plot was to begin with. All we can do is speculate. When I first saw it, what made me kind of not too skeptical, I was a little bit skeptical, but not too much. When I saw the cast, when I saw the cast of Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, when you see the cast, you're like, this is going to be a teen, and I'm not even trying to be derogatory. This is just what I saw it like, a teen chick superhero TV show. The girls are like in junior year of high school, and they have to deal with being superhero and being in a high school student. It's like, okay, this is like every other story I've seen in the past where people are or superheroes living this life. But I can only speculate that because we don't know what the exact plot was. Like, you heard about it a while ago, they were going to work on a live action show, and you're like, okay, how are you going to do it? Are you going to have like the younger version, like the girls, and doing that to keep that charm, of the show? But they're like teens, so you're like, okay, so this is like 10 years, 10 to 13 years later, after they were born, or however old they were when they were born, and when they ended the show in 2000.
I always assumed they were
old,
somewhere between the ages of like 9 and 11, something like that.
Yeah, however old they were when they were born, 10 years later. Or how many years later they're in high school, and that's the show. And it's so hard to do a show like that. If anyone has watched the Powerpuff Girls, it had a charm to it that made you watch, every single day when it came on.
Yeah, very distinct animation style. Like that you don't really see a whole lot.
Yeah, like with the girls themselves, with all the co-stars, like the professor. The professor was this very like doofy kind of father who was trying to instill the rules of being a father, but didn't know how to be a father because he was too much of a scientist and a father kind of thing.
Yeah,
he
was kind of a geek, kind of a he didn't have a whole lot of what's the word? He wasn't very social in the first place. So what he knew of being a father was basically the stuff from like you would see on a 50s TV show, like Father Knows Best or something like that.
Yeah, and it's like, how can you punish 3 little girls who have superpowers? You really can't. You got to adapt to their you gotta like, it's like you have to choose your, and I think there's times where he would say stuff and he would get hit with something that they did, like one of their powers or whatever. So it's like, how can you do that? And then not just the professor, you had, the other characters, especially the villains. Like, how can you bring Mojo Jojo into like, how can you bring him into a show? How can you? And it's like, you can't leave them out because they're like Lex Luthor and Joe. Like, they're the main villains that you see half the time. And I'm not doubting that they have the ability to do it. I just want to see, because it's different when you're doing The Flash or you're doing Green Arrow, because there's a little bit of reality into it, but it's like reality and then like the fictional side of it, where it's like the superpowers. That's it. But when you have something like Powerpuff Girls, it's like, okay, nothing in there was really real. So how can you portray that on the screen as a live action?
Yeah, absolutely.
Live action TV show.
The Powerpuff Girls were the most realistic thing in the entire show. It's like, you had the mayor, the doofy mayor, which I also want to see what they do with to make live action, his secretary, and then Professor Utonium. Sorry, Professor Utonium.
Yes.
Those every villain, because the Amoeba Boys were some sort of pink teddy bear kind of things.
They were what?
No, they were amoebas. They were amoebas. Yeah, who am I thinking of? Who am I thinking of? Who was the pink teddy bear?
Oh, yeah. I know. I forgot. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of Googling.
Fuzzy something Lumpkin.
I thought that was like their thing where they brought it. I think it was Bubbles' thing that she brought to life, and it ended up being this. I remember what you're talking about. I thought it was Bubbles' bear that she. Okay,
I don't know if there's ever a backstory. I mean, you may be right. I missed it, but.
Oh yeah. Gosh, Fuzzy Lumpkins.
Fuzzy Lumpkin. I was.
Yeah,
yes, I had it. I had it right there.
Yeah, he was like the pilot villain. He was the pilot villain of their first episode. Fuzzy Lumpkins. I remember that.
Isn't that weird how the brain works? I was completely like, Fuzzy Lumpkins. I wasn't saying that was his name. I actually had second thoughts about it, but yeah, it's totally his name.
Fuzzy Lumpkins. Yeah, he was like the pilot who had that meat gun.
Yes.
He had that meat gun. Oh man. Yeah, like how can you how can you bring that to the show? Like that the charm of Fuzzy Lumpkins. He was like this country backwood monster who had a meat gun, who had an
Yeah.
elephant gun or like a straight up shotgun and he had a meat gun. Like, how can you bring that? You know what I'm saying? Like and it's just something that's very interesting. That's going to be very interesting to see.
Here's
Very
what
interesting to see how
Here's
they
what
do
I'm
it.
thinking. Because outside of Mojo Jojo, Fuzzy Lumpkin, him, the Amoeba Boys, you have characters like Princess Morbucks, the Gangrene
Yes.
Gang,
Gangrene Gang, I remember them.
and Sedusa.
Sedusa, I remember Sedusa. Wow. I
Yeah.
remember Sedusa.
And the Rowdy
Yes.
Rough Boys, which would
Oh,
fit more into a live action movie or
you
series.
gotta have the Rowdy Rough Boys. If I watch this show and I do not see the Rowdy Rough Boys in like a finale that just wrecks them and it goes into season 2 after that, I don't know how I would feel about it. Yo, the
Yeah.
Gangrene Game would be perfect. The Gangrene Game would be perfect for a live action show.
Yeah,
It would be perfect. I think it'll work.
a
I think
gang of
it'll
like
work.
sentient zombies would totally work. I want to
It would look
see.
so cool.
I want to see them have their own show.
Oh, spinoff. Oh my god.
We'll probably get a lot of like villains like Princess Morbucks.
I think Princess Morbucks would work in that setting. If it's gonna be like a high school setting, it would work because she would be like the popular girl in school, and she sees Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, and they have these powers. Because I think that's how it is. She's jealous of them having their powers, and she kind of comes up with her own kind of evil scheme thing, right?
Yeah, so it's
that would work perfectly for that.
It's kind of like the scene in Justice League where the Flash asks Batman what his powers are, and he's like, "I'm rich." That's basically what she does.
Yeah.
She's like, "I'm so rich, and I can afford anything." So she tries to get she tries to buy gizmos and stuff that that would battle the Powerpuff Girls, but fails horribly every time. It's hilarious.
That would work. That would work in this if they continue the direction that they're going with the high school kind of theme. She would be perfect. She would just be this rich snobby girl who sees the Powerpuff Girls and gets jealous and would just try to just take them out by any means and just fail every single time. I would work really well.
I think if the producers need to do, like, I don't know what they tried to do the first time. We don't know. They said campy. That could mean anything. But they need to focus, I think, more instead of making it like a teen drama or something along. Because I'm afraid of the comparisons with Charmed. They need to focus more on the comedy aspect of it. And I don't think, I just have the feels that that's probably what the problem was. They were making it, more like a, kind of like a dramedy. But Powerpuff Girls was just funny. It was hilarious. It had its moments of like life lesson type stuff or, a cartoon of its time. But for the most part, it was just hilarious. And the villains really made it. So if they make a Powerpuff Girls anything without the inclusion of a lot of these villains that we all know from the series, it's going to fail. It's going to fail so bad. They might as well call it something else.
Yeah, and you always mention this. If it wasn't called Powerpuff Girls, if it was called Superhero Teens in High School, it would be different. It would be looked under different eyes.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But I think a lot of it's like we have a half-cock story. But if we attach this half-cock story to a well-known licensed, IP, it'll sell more. People will come see it without really thinking out why people like that IP in the first place.
Yeah. I think that's the problem too, because if you're gonna do a show like Powerpuff Girls, like for example, if you're gonna do Dexter's Lab, your real target audience are the people who watched this show when it first came out and stuck with it. That's your real target audience. And then everyone else who hasn't watched the show, they'll fall in line because it's like, this is a kid who has this incredible intellect who who has a completely different accent from his entire family.
For some reason.
Like, what the heck? But he has this incredible lab with all these cool stuff. Like my favorite one was, I think it was the pilot episode, was when his sister turned, it was like his sister, I think it was his sister turned into an alien or something happened. And he had like that huge Dexter mech. That was so cool. And then another episode was when he joined, remember the Justice Friends? Where they had like the little short animation where the Justice Friends, and he joined the Justice Friends and had the mechs. Like that was an awesome episode too. And then when he did the dodgeball episode where he made that mech suit, that dodgeball mech suit
with the
because he
cannon.
didn't want to get beaten. So it's like you can't, like, for me, like if you would do a show, you have to do it for me because I have those memories of that show. So you have to incorporate that into this live action show, just like you're doing in Powerpuff Girls. Your real target audience is the ones who've watched this show since the beginning, and then everyone else will fall in line because that's just kind of how it goes. Like the Flash was really made for people who've seen the show, who know the Flash, but everyone else fell in line to it. Same with Arrow and RIP to Supergirl because that's gonna end soon. But it's really for those people. Like it's really for those people. So, but we'll see.
Okay, so I'm looking back and it's bringing back because I knew what they'd look like, but I was like, what were their names? The Justice Friends. There was Val Howland. He was like Thor. Yep. Major Glory.
Kronk,
the Incredible
Kronk.
Yeah, and they were all. I think wasn't that basically a spinoff of Dial M for Monkey?
It was Dallin from Monkey. Then they did the Justice Friends because Dallin from Monkey, he was like quote unquote a part of the Justice Friends.
Yeah, but he just dipped in and out.
Oh, Dallin from Monkey was cool too.
Yeah, it was. it was one of those like misdirects. It's like this hapless monkey, and then he gets the call, and he's like, "Oh,
yeah,"
super
from
monkey.
that lady who could have like the telepathic communication with Monkey.
I forgot about that.
Because that's how it always started. He was like in this cage, and you see her said, "Monkey, please help me." He just like power up into a suit, and he would just take off, and you're just like, it's so stupid, but it's like so cool at the same time.
Yes, I need Hollywood to make me a promise. I need you to never, ever, ever make a live action Dexter's Laboratory movie,
please don't.
TV show. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. It's fine the way it is. We'll sick Mandark on you.
Oh, Mandark, gosh, how is it? I thought the laugh was so stupid. But you know what? Thinking about it, I think M from Monkey came from Dexter because Dexter was one who made Monkey. Because he was like, "This is because that's how it started. It was like he ran all his tests and he's like, it doesn't work. And then, but they did, but he just couldn't see the results of him, making Monkey who he was. I think there was one episode you did see it where he was when they did that whole crossover superhero thing in Dexter's show where like something was happening and like everyone came together and then Dexter was like, "Monkey, you can do this," and he was like, did his little shrug or whatever. But oh, man, like, and that's what I'm scared of. I'm like, I'm hoping that they don't lose all the stuff that I enjoyed watching this as a kid and like totally just doing a Hollywood thing. I don't want to see Dexter as a high school. I want him to stay as this little kid because that's where the charm was. He was this kid who was like super intelligent that showed his intelligence because you had shows of kids who were really intelligent, but you didn't see it like how Dexter was.
Right.
Like
Dexter's he was like borderline mad scientist, even though he was like a 10-year-old child.
Yeah, he's like the top tier of like intelligent mad scientist kids because he played the role. He played the role perfectly. So
now they did make a Powerpuff Girl movie back in that, but it was animated and it was good. They did make a Dexter's Laboratory. They called it Dexter's Lab the movie. I don't think it came out at the movie theaters.
It was a TV. I think it was a TV movie.
But it was really good. Now, if they keep these things in that realm, that's great. Name me one cartoon to live action movie that's worth anything that did any kind of good in the box office.
I really can't think of one. Maybe I say either between Sonic and Pokemon, but that's like no. Those are like video games. No, those don't count.
Yeah,
we're talking about like animated TV shows. There really hasn't been. It's so hard to capture that.
The only one we could almost put into that category is Transformers because it made so much money.
Yeah.
The G.I. Joe movies weren't the worst thing ever. We can conclude from this discussion there's a 98% chance that it's going to be horrible or take away anything that you once loved about whatever the franchise was. And I think that's what, maybe they're going to change it and fix it. Probably the Powerpuff Girls is going to follow suit. There's no reason why the Powerpuff Girls should be made into a live-action TV series. Like I say a lot, just make it something else. Make it your own thing, and go from there. Lastly, we want to talk about something that a lot of outlets have talked about, but I feel like it needs to be talked about because there's a couple things that really stick out and a couple things that are really kind of interesting about it. Is the because a lot of people are hating on it. I've seen more hate on it than good stuff, but I actually kind of enjoyed it. Is the Army of the Dead movie on Netflix starring Dave Bautista? What did you think about it? What's your like topical impression when you first started watching it, or after you got done watching it?
So of course there was a whole bunch of hype around it, and of course with me, I'm like, I'm not gonna follow the hype train, but I'll definitely like, oh, I won't buy into it, but I'll follow it
Mm-hmm.
just to like, I'll follow far behind it just to see, I'm not gonna fall into the hype. So I saw it, and this is what my initial thoughts were: the Army of the Dead. Okay, freaking zombies who are just can take off running at you and such and such. That's pretty much the premise of the movie. But then they have to go get this thing, and I'm like, okay. But when you watch it, it's not exactly what they showed it off to be. The beginning, yeah, there were zombies in when you first watch it. The all of Vegas was infected by this thing that they had in this truck, what they give no context of what the heck this thing is that they're carrying that got out. And let me just say this: that's a horrible way to die. That couple in the car. That is a horrible way to die. Like,
The two
first of
drivers
all,
in the truck that you're talking about, or
no, the couple that was like that knocked the driver off
oh
the
yeah, it was.
like, you can either pull over for that or just there's no way you're just completely just into that and just lose focus of your drive.
Like you
There's no way.
forget
But
you're
that's a horrible way.
driving altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah,
what
but
he
that's
did.
just a
Yeah,
horrible way.
that,
That's a horrible way
that's right.
to
You're right.
die.
I almost
Horrible way to
forgot about that. That's how important that was to me. Completely forget he's driving a car that just so happens to hit this whole military convoy that's carrying something that was
And
made by the military that was possibly, and this
yeah.
is one of the interesting facts, and I don't know if you caught this or not.
Mhm.
When they were loading the truck up with the canister at the beginning, the building behind it, you see two lights in the back in the sky that could be UFOs. And as the truck was pulling
Mm.
away, those two lights shot up into space.
I
So,
didn't pay attention to that.
which would lead you
I
to
mean,
believe that it was some kind of alien technology, which
yeah.
they kind
I
of
could
allude to in the conversation that the two military guys are having together.
Yeah, they were talking about that. They were. It wasn't what you think it was. Like I said, in the beginning, yes, everyone was a freaking zombie, and you can tell everyone were zombies, and all of Vegas was just zombies. But then, of course, this is spoiler alert, so you guys, there's gonna be spoilers all over this topic we're talking about.
This whole
Um,
episode is full of spoilers.
um, so then when they go into when they get, I think the build up to it was like, it was whatever. Like, he was recruiting all his old crew. First of all, I don't even know how they even got together. There's like no context of too much of how too many people, like, who they are and how
They
they got
don't.
there.
The whole
For,
story,
for
what they did previous to when the movie started, was told in the opening credits that we
yeah.
just kind of watched and assumed that's what was going on.
Yeah, it wasn't like a scene. The opening credits were rolling when everything was happening. It wasn't like a slow like pan over where you see the city and the credits roll and then you see the city be infected, and that's an entire scene and everyone's coming together and then everything happens, and then part two of that is however long after when they gated Vegas off. It
Which
was
they
just
gated it with giant cargo containers that apparently are
if
really
it,
easy to get through, and none
if
of
it
these
worked.
smart zombies could find their way out.
Like I said, there's no there's so many plot holes and no context and stuff. So I took it for what it was. I didn't want to be that person. I took it for
Okay.
what it was.
All right.
And I'm like, hey, if shipping containers hold off the undead, then we have something to work with if it ever happens in real life. Get some shipping containers and just block off sections of places where it's not infected.
Yeah.
But then you go in and it's like they're not zombies. They're really just dead, but they're being controlled. They're like they're different. They're not like that one lady, I forgot her name was. She's like, they're different. They're not the same that you think they are. They have intelligence, they're faster and da 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 da. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
That was
okay. I thought they were just freaking fast zombies, but no, this is like, I don't want to say I Am Legend situation where it's like they were like, they can they all could just meet up and whatever. This is like they're beasts. Like
Mm.
they died and they come back with a new, not dead, but they're like they have a new consciousness
Yeah.
that's like more like beasts, like animals,
Mhm.
and
And
they follow a pack, a
right.
pack lead. So it's diff. So it kind of threw me when I did that, but nothing really happens until they get into that one area or whatever where they have to go through the kitchen, and that dude just totally like screws everything up and gets that one chick killed, and he gets his just desserts later, which I was happy about. I love seeing that.
Oh, by the tiger too. That was
Yeah,
poetic.
I
It's
love seeing
beautiful.
that stuff. But just for what it was okay. I mean, I would still tell people to see it just to like really like give like I'm not gonna say I've seen people say it was trash, but I was like, I don't it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. It wasn't bad. It was it was good for what it was. Like it wasn't like a Resident Evil. Like it's just like we've been talking about. If it had Resident Evil on there, then it would have been a horrible movie, but it was called
Mhm.
Army of the Dead. So it's like it's something different. And it I can say it is what it is. I think I'll rate it and I'll give it like a 6 because it wasn't
That's
bad, but it wasn't terrible.
that's fair.
I
That's
mean,
fair.
it wasn't
It
good, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good.
the woman who knew all this stuff about the zombies, her name was the Coyote. Oh,
The
it was
Coyote,
something, and
yeah.
like, she had like a name. They always called her the Coyote, who turned out to be one of my favorite characters. I thought she was going to be kind of the snitch, like the like she was going to turn on him at the end, and up
Mhm.
until she died, I still thought that because
Mhm.
when she had the head of the old queen
Yeah.
after dude, like they would have been fine. They would have been fine. Okay, here's a few. I'll go into my issues and then I'll go into some neat stuff. Okay, so they have these displacement camps right outside Las
Yeah, like,
Vegas.
that's stupid.
Like
Like, what the
it's like it's right next to it, and I guess it's because it's full of people who have nowhere else to go because they were evacuated. They couldn't go to anywhere else in the world, or they didn't have
Really?
money to go, so that they put them in these camps, and they were lived at tents, and I don't know how long this has been going on, but then you go to the woman, the mother who just messed it up for everybody because of the daughter. I thought so she wants to go to the Coyote to get in because the Coyote knows how to get in. Well, it didn't seem that hard to get in because if
Really didn't.
they went through, they were okay. So I imagine there's some sort of hallway that goes through the storage containers that apparently is decorated. Did you notice they had like
Mhm.
lights and they had chairs and there was like a lamp and stuff in the hallway that they went to get
Yeah.
inside? But the daughter has to go because Dave Bautista's character and her have a strained relationship because he killed her mother, his wife, but it was because she was infected and she couldn't get over that stuff. Even though they kind
Mhm.
of mentioned later in the movie that that wasn't the main reason, but they
Yeah, I
really
think
didn't
she said
give a
that
good enough follow
like
up answer.
yeah, the thing she said that it wasn't because you killed the mom. He was like, "Well, I don't get it." And I was like, "I don't get it either. What are you mad about?" And then she was like, "Because you didn't stick around after." And I'm like, "Okay." He
Yeah,
wasn't there. He wasn't there to comfort her when his mother turned. He kind of just killed her and bounced. Like he didn't stick around. I
yeah.
I understand that. Like the whole time when she said it wasn't because you killed my mom when she was infected, and when he said, "I don't get it," I said, "I don't get it." I was like, "I don't get it either. So what the heck are you so mad?"
so,
And then she explained it, and I'm like, "Okay, I get it."
so the mother wanted to break in. The mother of these two kids that the daughter of Dave Bautista apparently felt really strong feelings for. The mother's like, okay, we're going to get evacuated in such and such a time. I want to break into Las Vegas and and crack open a slot machine and get that money so we can have a better life. That's dumb. Okay, so they go in there and it's her own dumb fault. Okay, dumb 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 dumb.
Mhm,
And so once the daughter finds this out, right when they're about to go in, she's like, "I'm going with you," and
mhm.
you don't have a choice. And a lot of things could have been like a lot more people could have been saved if that character wasn't so annoying. I found her annoying.
Yeah, I did too. It was
And
just stupid. In reality, I mean, of course, yes, you have a friend who's in there, of course, but to me, not even to be like rude, But I'm like, you went in there, you know what's in there, you know what's worth going in there, and you chose to do that. I'm not about to take that same risk that you did because I
Yeah.
can go and get a job and go make money and still be alive.
Yeah. I don't
But
want all my friends that out there that to know or to think that I don't have your back. But if you do something like that, you're on your own.
yeah,
I'm
yeah. Like if
sorry.
I do that, I don't want no one following me because that's my own stupid fault. And then then they're like, oh, he's probably, and this is what kind of got me was they were like, oh, she's there. Oh, but we can't go there right now. But we're gonna go do this, and then that's it. And it's like, so you know where everyone is, but you're just gonna leave them. Okay, cool. And then she left right when they had what they needed. She dipped out and went there. And I'm just like, you
Yeah.
know what you just did? You just
Yeah.
caused them a more difficulty that they had getting. Someone already died trying to get there already. Now
Hmm.
you're gonna risk more people. And it was just like, and typically in the end, spoiler alert, everyone died except for the daughter.
That
Well, I'll
daughter.
just say, like everyone died except for the
Everyone
daughter.
died.
Like
Well,
like I
yeah.
think everyone would have lived. They would have got onto the helicopter. They would have been out if they didn't have to go back and go get the. I well, no, no, no. I think Dave Bautista and that pilot would have lived if they didn't have to go back and go get the daughter. Like they would have
What
been out. That bomb would have dropped, and they would have been set. They'd have had the money. They'd have been set.
what was the guy's name that had the big steel saw? He made it till the end, but we're not there
Mhm.
yet. We're not there yet. So they get into it. They get into the place, and then the coyote knows that if they make an offering to these, because they're like, oh, they're just zombies. They're like, no, there's ones in the center that are stronger. They have a hierarchy. They know things.
Mhm.
So they
Mhm.
get in there and they have to make an offering, and that's why they got the twat waffle security officer from the guard
Yeah.
from the camp to go in there and take the fall because he shot him in the
That was
leg.
so funny.
It was
That was
great. It
funny.
was great. You knew that was going to happen. You're like, why? Why would you even pick this random guy? They didn't give a reason. So they brought him in. They shot him in the
Yeah.
leg, and then the creepy queen and the other guy, but not the main guy, but another guy that looked a whole lot
Yeah.
like him. By the way,
Did. He
it's
really
like
did.
you couldn't really tell, but the smart zombies and they came and they accepted their sacrifice. So they were able to go in and do what they were going to do basically with no problem. And then they find out that the deadline for they were going to nuke Las Vegas, by the way, and that they moved that up an entire 24 hours, which left them with an hour and a half to
It's a-
to break into the safe and get all the money and get out. But if it wasn't for the guy's head of security that went in with him, which is played by Garrett Dillahunt, which is one of my
Mhm.
favorite actors. Like not he's one of my favorite TV actors. They're like, we need a vial of their blood because surprise surprise, the multi-million-dollar guy who was working for the military was not being honest with the reason they sent them in the first place. They wanted to get a
Yep.
DNA sample so they could make an army of the dead, and that's why it was called Army of the Dead, which I
Mhm.
somehow that didn't register until the end of the movie for me.
Yeah.
So instead of taking a vial of the blood, he cuts the whole head off. He was a total dick.
Yeah.
This whole movie,
Yeah.
he got that one badass woman killed. He was always planning on doing something dirty, so he took the head and they killed the other guy. And it wasn't until later in the movie that the main dude found out. It was hinted towards the beginning when you first saw him that the queen might be pregnant, sort of. Like he put his head up to
Mhm.
her, like making zombie noises. So the best we could figure out that she might be pregnant. So, but the dude cuts her head off. He finally finds it, and then they take the body back and they cut her open, and there was like a little glowing little zombie baby in there. Just something you don't really
Mhm.
see a lot in zombie movies. They had this,
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
and you kind of started feeling for the zombies a little bit because it wasn't their fault that this was going on. It was totally the humans' fault,
Mhm.
and you could tell that the king zombie cared about his people because when they were having that big final escape towards the end and they went through the casino and then they got the one dude that shot the zombies on YouTube and
Oh
he
yeah, he blew them
grenaded
all up.
himself and blew him up and everything caught on fire and then
He was actually pretty pissed that all his guys
all his
died.
people were died. He was like pounding on the door going, ah. But what was cool,
Yeah.
I thought, is that he was smart enough when they started to go after them after they discovered the body and they were like, "We're going to kill these people." Um, he was smart enough to put on that metal mask so they couldn't shoot him in the
Yeah.
head. I was like, that's pretty cool. So there was a couple aspects at it that even though there was some huge flaws in it, there was some good stuff, that imaginative stuff that I almost wouldn't
Hmm.
mind seeing going further into the zombie lore in other movies. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
there should be an alpha zombie. There's always one zombie that started it all. So why not make that zombie kind of more a little bit more craftier than the other?
Yeah, like the alpha. Like there's always an alpha in some kind of species. Like vampires is an alpha, there's an alpha vampire, alpha werewolf. Why can't there be an alpha zombie
Yeah,
that
yeah.
has more intelligence than all the other all the others. Like there could be like the pawns who are like the mainstream zombies that are slow and whatever. And then you have like your soldiers who are like the ones you had sitting in that what was it, the Olympus whatever there,
The
and you
Olympus.
have like the alpha and the queen there. So I mean there could be, this makes it more scary, but I mean there could be.
Then there was Valentine.
Mhm.
Valentine was the zombie tiger.
Yeah,
If you can see a human zombie, you can see an animal zombie. I know people get kind of misty when it comes to animals dying or whatever in movies, but
being reanimated.
there was a zombie tiger, and it was awesome because she got to kill Garrett Dillahunt's character. We'll call
Mhm.
him that. I can't remember his name, which was the special effects in this movie were pretty much amazing.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
were.
so when it came to that death scene in particular, because it wasn't like somebody getting blown up, it wasn't
Oh,
a
he got
he
mauled.
got
He got
mauled.
mauled.
He
You
got
see it.
mauled
You see it.
so bad. By the time that he finally died and he just munched, she just munched his face off. Like you pretty much could see that half of his face had fallen off
It was
anyway.
gone. Yeah.
Like he just went in the worst kind of way because
Yeah, he got mauled.
and it was poetic justice. So that's why I say it's like, are we supposed to not like the zombies in this movie? Because I'm kind of rooting for them a little bit at this point.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, and something else that they touched on, the guy that had the saw, and I can't think, he had a cool name too.
It was I have it here. It's a weird it's like, um, I can't pronounce it. I think his name is Vandero,
Vanderholt,
or it's Vanderohe. I think it's like, um,
Vanderho.
Vanderho.
I mean,
That's what it sounds like.
I guess that's what it was. I don't know.
I have to
I
go
just
back
remember
and
it
watch
being
it.
Vanderho. Okay.
Or like Vander, or so I say Vander is like the shorten that, just Vander.
Yeah, I
Leave
would
the
probably
other
go
part
that
out.
route too. What's up? What's up, V? His whole explanation when they were about to break into the safe, the safe
Yeah,
cracker is a whole nother character. Which I heard, one of the neat things I've heard about this movie is that they're going to go back and make a prequel starring that guy, and I'm like, why would you do that? The safe
yeah,
cracker, the German guy. It's
yeah.
like,
That's kind
okay,
of a weird thing to do, yeah.
yeah.
Instead, just
So,
make a sequel.
and supposedly they're making an anime that ties into it on Netflix.
Okay.
That's another rumor. But his whole thing where he was talking, and I'm talking about Vanderho, how he was talking about because they see the corpses, and he starts talking about a time loop.
Yeah.
What if we're all in a time loop and we've done this before and we go through this again and we all die, then we come back and we do it
When he
again while they're
when he
showing the
said
dead bodies one by one
it's
that are
them,
wearing the
looks
same
like
clothes
them.
that they have on. They even cut back and forth to different scenes of them where you definitely know that those are them. And he was like,
Yeah, when he said that, that messed me up. I was like, "Is this a time loop that we're watching?" And I had to stop. I'm like, "Nah, he's just giving them BS. He's just messing with people." But that messed me up when he said that.
my thought was like, what kind of movie are we watching again? Like, is
Yeah.
this going to be one of those movies that you think is one thing and completely turn into something else? They never really
Yeah.
go back to it, but I mean, that's definitely what he was talking about, and what they were showing
Mhm.
is that that's
They
probably
could
what's
have
going
done that.
on.
They could have worked that angle, because that's what it already screwed me up when the zombies weren't zombies. That already messed me up already. So I'm already like vulnerable to anything. So then when he said, maybe this is just a time loop, maybe we're just doing this over and over again, it had me sitting there like, are they? And I'm like, no, 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 no. He's just messing with everyone. He's just messing with everyone. It got me too for a second.
Yeah. So that
The
was
way he
a
explained it.
really cool part, and then how they got out. So basically,
Mhm.
after they got from the vault to get to the top of the building, everybody dies, and then Dave has to tell the helicopter pilot that they have 9 minutes to go to another place completely and get
Yeah.
her daughter and still make it out by the time the nukes hit. Which, okay, and this was something that kind of aggravated. It didn't kind of, it totally did. Is that they're complete and lack respect for time. Okay, because
That's
they
what I
go
felt
from a
too.
48-hour time period to do all this to an hour and a half. Still had time for banter in the hallway while they were waiting for the vault to be opened. Got the vault open. Just had these little conversations where it's like, you have an hour and a half to get the hell out of here, do your job and get out.
Mhm.
So I need you to feel like you're being pressed for time, because if you don't care about the time, I don't care about the time. And they're getting out after everybody's died. The coyote's death. Okay, okay, that's where we are now. When she had the queen's head on top of the building, they were the last two besides the helicopter pilot left, and
Mhm.
she was baiting him with the queen's head. I still, up until even that point, thought that it was going to be a bait and switch, that she was going to coerce him into biting her and
Oh,
not necessarily killing her, so she could become the next queen of the
did
zombies.
something
That's what I thought,
happen?
but that never happened. What's up? His new queen, so she could be the queen of the zombies. I still had that in my
Okay.
head. That was never happened, but I guess in the same vein, you never saw her die, but yet he did, and then they got blown up. So anyway, that theory's blown out of the water. So you get on the helicopter and they're flying, and he convinces her to go with 9 minutes left to another place to get to save the daughter, which is a ridiculous amount of time. Okay, so they go in there. I guess it takes less than 9 minutes.
Didn't feel like it.
Didn't feel like it, and then they, save the silly mom and her two dumbass friends, and get them back up to the helicopter. Get everybody in the helicopter with a 9 minute time limit. Once again, going back to the, if you don't care about the time, neither do I. Dave Bautista takes an exorbitant amount of time to just stare at his daughter before he got into the helicopter.
Mhm.
Which of course is the cliche that cues the bad guy to reemerge and then cause even more chaos. So the Zombie King got on the helicopter with everybody, causing, bit Dave, gave the helicopter pilot her fatal wound that, takes her,
Mhm.
and then I guess the mother dies too. I don't even
Yeah,
really remember.
they didn't even show that. Like, I'm thinking she's gonna go look for a friend. She just looked for the dad or Dave Bautista, and he was hemmed up against something. But like, no context of what happened to the mom who was supposed to be in the helicopter with. Like,
Well,
none.
the helicopter thing in general, no human being would ever survive that
Yeah,
helicopter crash.
exactly,
It was pretty
exactly.
brutal. Yeah, so they had their long talk, which he chooses to spend a lot of time talking about lobster rolls for some reason, and then he passes or turns into a zombie himself, and she has to shoot him.
Mm.
None of this fits into the time frame that they had, and
Oh, oh. I knocked my camera over.
oh no.
Right?
Oh, super
Yeah.
cool. Well, that is our take on Army of the Dead. It's fine. It's fine.
I would, yeah, I would watch it. Watch it for the sake of watching it and
Mm-hmm.
give your opinions from there. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great.
Yeah,
That's why we gave it our ratings we gave it.
yeah. 6, 7. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Mhm,
That'd be passing, probably, maybe a little bit.
mhm. If
So
they Also, if they do
anyway,
make another one, there's always room for improvement.
there is. I'd watch another one. I'd liked it enough. I'd watch a sequel.
Mhm.
So if you take anything away from this today, always remember Jupiter's Legacy is definitely worth watching, and you should watch it right now. Cartoons should not be made into movies,
Don't
and
do it.
Army of the Dead, good, but could use some work.
Mhm.
So we'll see what happens. They're already planning a bunch of spin-offs and different projects on it, so maybe it'll get good. We'll see. I don't think it's trash, but it's not perfect.
Yeah,
Is that what you think too, Katetsu? Or
I think so. I think so. Like I said, I think there's always room for improvement.
yeah,
Um, if they do an anime about the prequel, I think that would be. I think they're just setting a lore for this thing they're trying to do.
yeah.
They're
So
just trying to set a lore.
I think they did that successfully. There's a lot of things unanswered, and so maybe through the other projects we'll find out. what's going on. And with that, we will see you guys later, like probably in episode 6. What do you think?
Yes.
Good idea.
I think 6 is happening. 6 is happening.
6 is totally happening. And we'll probably be in it.
Yes. Yes, we won't be
right.
CGI'd in this one.
Won't be CGI. We'll be animated either, unfortunately. All right. We'll see you guys later.
Take care.